I want to be mindful of the time. We could speak about this topic for hours. I can feel the passion, and there has been some amazing insight. So I do want to thank everyone for this insightful conversation. But as we come to the end of the hour, I'd like to finish the way that we began, with a tour de table, and give you guys a time to go back to one of the questions or share something else. The intention for this podcast is to help each of us become the self-authoring leader of our own lives through meaningful actions. So let's pass the mic and share any reflection that may have emerged from our conversation, or any last thought that you feel was left unsaid that you'd like to leave us with. And I'll start by sharing my own takeaway to give you a moment to collect your thoughts. I took some notes, and some thought came, and I really appreciated a number of things, and I can't wait to do the blog post. But I've personally been thinking a lot about education. As I mentioned, with 3 daughters, 2 in college and 1 in high school, I'm thinking a lot about what is essential for them to learn in life. And I've arrived at 3 skills or knowledge, or I don't even know what those are. The first one is emotional intelligence, so they can deal with their own emotions. The second is curiosity, so they can see that differences is a good thing. And the third is the ability to adapt, so they don't get stuck in uncertainty and the constant change that we're facing. And I realized that I've lived 50 years by following the established path. And actually, once I had achieved all the dreams that I had after college, not only did I feel dissatisfied and kind of burned out, but I also realized that those dreams were not truly mine. So I can only hope that my daughters design their own lives. And instead of becoming, as you said, a productive individual, which I've become, they can become a creative and compassionate person. That would be my hope. So let's continue the tour de table. And I'd like to invite maybe Luz to begin and share your last thoughts or anything that you feel was left unsaid.
I think two things. One is that we think in education to prepare the kids for the future. But what about to prepare them for the present? Like an education that is useful now, it could be ideal. And another thing that kind of, I met Jacob, he created the Democratic School of Hadera in Israel. And he said something that it took me a long time to actually understand. And he said that the schools are a mirror of society. So we cannot expect to live in a democratic country and have responsible citizens that take care of their environment and of the people that is surrounding them if we grow up in a system where there is a hierarchy, and we are not allowed to take control of our own decisions until we are 18, and we follow orders all the time. And for me, that's the key. Like if we could create an educational system, or if we can improve education, we have to also consider how we would like the world to be. And if we want people that are responsible, that are good citizens, and that take care of the environment, that has to be also cultivated in the school. We cannot let, if it's what you said, if we want to be empathetic, if we want them to develop those emotional skills, critical thinking, and autonomy, that is like ideally what an adult person will need to have a fulfilling life and a satisfied life, then that has to be reproduced also since we are little.
Absolutely.
I think that there's something about this that is really important to land outside of the education system, because I think what we're actually talking about is not a school system, it's a way of life. And it's going to be, I think, the most difficult for the adults. I mean, let's just be honest about this. And we're put in a position now where we have to essentially teach the next generation something we frankly don't know. And so that is going to be hard, because the programming of being a parent and being an adult is to be the one that's holding authority and responsibility and those advices and teachings that are going to put children on the right track. And this is deep stuff. I mean, that thing, when you become a parent and you hear yourself say these things you swore you'd never say, that thing is deep. And so, again, we can move the furniture around all we want, but the depth of the shift is actually at the level of a total way of being in the world differently. And it's not going to be easy, right? So it's beautiful and it's freeing, but it's disorienting because who are you? Your identity is shifted when you have to actually shift, right? It's not about making a chore wheel for who's going to do the dishes in the kitchen anymore. It's about another kind of communication of a noticing relational process through the whole day where it doesn't matter who's on the chore wheel. What it matters is that your kids can perceive who actually needs to do the dishes, not based on the chore wheel, but by the relational process. And this, that's just a tiny little example, like the tiny little example of drawing the smell of the basil. Like the out of these existing patterns is going to make you dizzy. And I questioned developmental stage theory recently on Facebook. Some of you may have seen. It was quite the kerfuffle. But what I was surprised at was that actually there were a lot of people who were still really locked into that idea as being something real. Even when you point out that it comes from eugenics and it comes from industry and it comes from, this need to plot your cognitive development as a naturalized Darwinian social process, people did not want to let go. But I'm stage 5, but I'm green, but I'm, this like need to measure yourself and measure others and that constant judging. And that thing, our children are learning to do that, not because we're teaching them, but because it's implicit in everything that we're doing. So the real education is between the generations, and it starts now, and it's in every single thing you do, every single thing. So it's not really about the classroom. The real revolution is actually in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment, intergenerational relationships. Let's not trap the next generation in our traps.
Well said. Thank you, Nora. Joe, your last thoughts or reaction?
One thing we haven't really touched on is teachers aren't happy either. They're not happy with the system. So that's another component to think about. That's all I have.
Yeah, I would argue, and they probably have the most important job right now, right? Of teaching the future leaders, and they're doing their best in a system that is just not meant for what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Joe, because it's not like it's us against the school system.
Right.
Mm-mm.
We are the school system
Mm-hmm.
in everything that we do. So I think support teachers
goes back to the way of life thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shauna, any last thoughts, reflection, or?
Yeah, my mind is just kind of spinning. It's been wonderful to learn from you all, and that this is what we should be doing. This is what we should be teaching our kids to do. Talk to people. I don't want to learn about systems thinking by reading a book. I want to learn about it by talking to Nora and Joe, and to people that are learning it and doing it. I don't want to learn about being a doctor by reading a book. I want to talk to a doctor, and I want to, and like you said, Luz, also, learning isn't regulated to the classroom. It is a lifelong thing. And that's what we should be teaching our kids. Like, learning doesn't stop.
On that note, I want to thank you all for taking the time today to share your perspective, your experiences, your passion for this side of our life. And we will write a blog post. We'll have video snippets and more. So everybody, people who likes to read or listen, will have the podcast as well, the audio part, for hopefully to let anyone who has been listening or watching this video to connect with any of your work, individual work, and continue the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone. So nice to be with you.